Your turn. Is the button on?
Turn the mic on, please.
Is that button on? Green?
Dwight Lilly, Lilly. Earlier in this board meeting, we had a discussion about the brownfield tests that were given on parcels of land. And the thought occurred to me that it comes up when we were discussing last commission meeting and some town board meetings about the effluent that was proposed to be used on the fairground property. And the questions were brought up about bacteria being within the effluent and possibly endangering the health of children or just people interacting with it. And then I thought to myself, why hasn't something like that ever been considered as a test, either by this brownfield group or the county itself? Because if there's going to be a health situation involving effluent, we have more than one utility area that could possibly be spreading effluent out over either just vacant land or possible land that human beings interact with. One of the items that has come up both in the Las Vegas papers and nationwide is the fact that there's antibiotic-resistant bacteria that's present. In fact, you have a very high chance of your life ending in a hospital just from the bacteria you can pick up there, as opposed to what you went into the hospital to begin with. So, and we live in a town that has quite a few elderly people using medical facilities, and we'll be spreading bacteria throughout the waste systems within the county. Now, this wouldn't be with a septic system, which the effluent would go, in a sense, there's no effluent. It would go into the ground and be dissipated by the ground and molecularly connected to atoms down there. But actually, I'm talking about where treatment plants spray the stuff out onto the ground, and there's a question about whether it's safe or not, or whether it's been held in a holding pond or not. So I would like to see either that group do test studies of the different effluent now being spread out into the ground, where the public actually has a chance of interacting with the ground, either walking on it, falling down on it, scraping your knee on it, and picking up a bacteria that could end your life. And I was really surprised that this was not considered in any test sites. We talked about going out and looking at different fields and stuff, but here most of the population that's going to have any problem with hazardous conditions involving property is right here in Pahrump, as far as our county goes. And if there's effluent now being used on golf courses or soccer fields or baseball fields or the high school, I'd like to know about it, and I'd like to have it tested for whether there is active bacteria on it or isn't. Because the question was brought up, and I heard from industry and people say, no, it's all been treated as safe, and then I've heard all the opposite, people saying, no, that isn't safe, I wouldn't have my grandkids. But quite frankly, I don't know. I don't go rolling around on the grass out there, but I am concerned about the public's well-being on this, and I would think that if you're going to have a brownfield study or any other type of study that this Board of Commissioners is advocating, then you at least ought to focus logically and reasonable on areas where it really is a health concern, and not some concern about a field that's out in the middle of Amargosa Valley. Not that they don't have a problem up there, but the percentage of people of the county that be interacting is way higher here in Pahrump, and especially with kids that might, and their parents that may not know that they're even being exposed to something dangerous. Antibiotic-resistant bacteria is a very real problem that we have.
Right.
When you talk about waste systems and effluent, it's something that we should really be on top of.
Okay.
And that's my comment.
Thank you. I was going to answer some of it, but I think Mr. Hafan's going to. Go ahead, Mr. Hafen.
I only got in on part of it, Tim Hafen, H-A-F-E-N. But what part I got in, I just figured was completely distorted and out of line. We produce effluent off a sewer plant, Mr. Lilly. And I'll tell you what, it's tested every month, and it's inspected by the state at least twice a year into our rapid infiltration basins. We test for bacteria, we test for all the components. That water that comes out of the sewage plant is also chlorinated before it goes back in the ground. That water is drinking water quality. Now, there are golf courses It's drinking water quality.
Mr. Lilly, we're not doing a debate in
Well, he wants
rebuttal.
to debate me in public.
No, he is
There's
he's
only
explaining,
one utility.
sir, he's
Mr. Commissioner.
explaining his point of view.
There's
You
only one
gave
utility
yours.
here in our facility.
Sir, you're out of order.
Speak for Haven Utility. You can't-
Sir, you're out of order.
So don't say all affluent is
Sir.
healthy. You don't know.
I
Sir,
do, yes, I do.
Jesus.
On the small golf course, effluent is used to irrigate the small golf course from UICN. I know that to be a fact. It's tested constantly. There's nothing wrong with it. It does not contain bacteria. And so you can spread all the stuff you want about, go roll on that grass, it won't hurt you. But all I'm saying is that this misinformation that goes on constantly is just completely false.
Okay,
How is a
Thank you.
question being brought up, Mr.
thank you.
Commissioner?
Sir. Thank you, thank you. Next?
My name is Eric Vessella, Vessella.
You're not an expert on it.
Today, I went